So, asking a reader what their favourite book or favourite books is probably the worst thing you can ask somebody who reads. So I decided to ask myself that question and make a video about it. Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm Novel and Quill on Instagram and now on YouTube. And I make sewing and bookish videos. So I'm sat down, we're comfortable. Let's get started with, and this is in no particular order, because asking me to actually rank my books 1 through to 10 would be a cruel and unusual punishment, especially since I like the books for different reasons. I think the best description is some are Michelin star restaurants and some are takeaways. You love both of them, but you don't love both of them for the same reason. So where am I going to start? I think I will start with The Foxhole Court by Nora Sakavic. I think this is like one of the first queer sports books that became a thing. They seem to be really popular now, or at least even just sports romances seem to be really popular now. And this has sports. It's a made-up sport, but which is exy. But this has sports, it has queerness, it has mafia. It is kind of like the fan fiction that you read very late at night, with a little bit of smut, but not as much as you think it should have. I think that's the best description. Also, I think the latest book has come out the other day, which I need to read, but this is the original trilogy. They are not the prettiest covers, we will be honest, and I think it is literally self-published through Amazon, but I would entirely recommend this series. The blurb is, Neil Joston is the newest addition to Palmetto State University's exy team. He's short, he's fast, he's got a ton of potential, and he's the runaway son of the murderous crime lord known as the Butcher. Signing a contract with the PSU Foxes is the last thing a guy like Neil should do. The team is high profile, and he doesn't need sports crews broadcasting pictures of his face around the nation. His lies will hold up only so long under this kind of scrutiny, and the truth will get him killed. But Neil's not the only one with secrets on the team. One of Neil's new teammates is a friend from his old life, and Neil can't walk away from him a second time. Neil has survived the last 8 years by running. Maybe he's finally found someone and something worth fighting for. Yeah, I think the best description of it is it reads like well-written fan fiction. Not that you can tell it's based on something else. I don't mean it like that. I mean, it is definitely an AU fan fiction where, as I said, you have sports, you have mafia, you have queerness, and it's everything you could want. What more could I say to sell this? It's just really good fun and I really enjoy it. Next book, we will go for The Raven Boys by Maggie Stiefvater. I originally came across Maggie Stiefvater from reading Shiver, which is the Wolves of Mercy Falls. That series is heartbreaking and I love it, but I think I love The Raven Boys even more. It has that mix of, I want to say dark academia, but it's not dark, it's light academia, mystery and magic and psychics. I just love all the characters. Okay, I will admit I love some more than I love others. The second read around, because I did read this years ago in high school, which I think it's when it first came out, and I remember really enjoying I didn't enjoy the characters as much, but I enjoyed the world building. This time around, and probably influenced by Bookstagram and fan art and stuff like that, I do love Ronan more. I love Blue, and I love Gansey. I still love Gansey, even though he is a pretentious private school boy. I think Ronan, this time around, has got my heart a little bit more. But I will read the blurb. Even if Blue hadn't been told her true love would die if she kissed him, she would stay away from boys, especially the ones from the local private school. Known as the Raven Boys, they only mean trouble, but this is the year that everything will change for Blue. This is the year that she will be drawn into the strange and sinister world of the Raven Boys, and the year Blue will discover that magic does exist. This is the year she will fall in love. Basically, if you don't know about the Raven Boys, Blue lives in a family of psychics, and she is the only one who isn't psychic. Her gift is that she amplifies others' powers, and she's been given a prophecy that she will kill the boy she falls in love with by kissing him. And it starts off meeting the ghost of a character who you will later meet, and it's how this all happens. I am currently reading The Dream Thieves. I listened to Raven Boys and, to be fair, Dream Thieves on Spotify in the UK. I will triple check whether it's still available, because it wasn't part of their audiobook scheme, it was just uploaded as an album. And if you are not the controller of your Spotify account, it still means you can listen to it, because you can't listen to audiobooks on Spotify for free if you have like a family account and you're not the controller. But anyway, side tangent. As I said, I love the light academia aspect of this book and just the characters. I think it's one of the few YA books that I'm still managing to read and enjoy. I'm 26 and I can definitely tell that YA is not written for me anymore. This is one of those books I can still enjoy, which is really nice to be able to hold on to. I say that as I'm just realising that in my top 10 there is the number of YA books. Anyway, I still love them. Next book, we will go for Poison Study by Maria V. Snyder, which I think is coming up to 20 years ago this was published. Yep, 2005. Wow. Blurb. How much is your life worth? In the territory of Ixia, control is maintained through the code of behaviour, forbidding the practice of magic, but danger lurks in mysterious places. Imprisoned for murder, Yelena Zoltana's punishment is death, unless she accepts the position of the commander of Ixia's food taster, and risks assassination from poison daily. In a world where magic equals death and freedom is for the lucky few, the battle for Yelena's life has just begun. The best comparison for books I can give for this one is if you have read the Black Magician trilogy by Trudy Canavan, which is The Novice, The High Lord and The Black Magician. If you enjoyed that series, I would highly recommend this one. It also has the slight dystopian vibes for the Kingdom of Ixia, in the sense that you're living in a fantasy world that they're pushing technology and they're pushing a mentality that definitely has dystopian feels, while it is still definitely a fantasy. There's 3 books in this primary trilogy, and then I think there's a later series, which I think I have the first book in that, which is Shadow Study, because the first 3 are Poison Study, Magic Study and Fire Study, which does complete the trilogy, and then I think that's for later on. This is another book that I read when I was in high school from the library, and it stayed with me. I really enjoy it as fantasy. It's got a bit of everything. If you like magic schools, this has it. If you like sort of mentor-student relationships, this has it. And yeah, I just think it's a really good book and a really good series. The next book is one of the Michelin star restaurant comparisons. It is The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern. This is one of those books that I love for how it's written. I can appreciate this book as a reader, I can appreciate this book as a writer. It has a very simple blurb, which is simply, the circus arrives without warning, no announcement preceded, it is simply there, when yesterday it was not. The Night Circus is a magic circus, but it doesn't start off as a magic circus. It starts off as a fantasy of an idea that some rich businessman comes up with, and then it's a bargain, a competition between 2 magic users on which form of magic is better, something that is book learnt or natural talent, and the night circus is their showground, it's their competition piece, it's everything. I love this book because it has so many different points of view that blend so well and so seamlessly. You have a second person point of view, which is you walking through the circus. It has before the circus becomes a thing, it has during, it has a second during, and then it has that you later on. It's so complex and it's so magical. I love this book so much. If I'm being honest, this is probably my favourite book of all time because I love it for so many things. I just love how much you can appreciate it as a writer, as a reader. It's the sort of book that you can pick up and take on holiday with you. It's the sort of book you can take on a train. Admittedly, you might miss your stop because it is that gripping, but you can enjoy it that, and then as a writer you can read it and just appreciate the craft. It's just such a smorgasbord for all your senses. It's littered with smells, it's littered with tastes, with sounds, things you can touch. I know that sounds so nuts, but it's probably, I just love it so much. It is the one book that I would probably recommend to anyone and everyone. There are other books that I read that I wouldn't just recommend for everyone because they're not for everyone. This one, I think, although it's magic and I know some people don't like magic, I think it is so well written that anybody can pick it up. It's a vintage classic in modern times, and I can understand why, because it is just such a good book. The next book, okay, so the cover on this doesn't look great, given it has like no smut in it. It is a mass market paperback. It is Moon-Called by Patricia Briggs, and this is the Mercy Thompson series. The blurb on the back: werewolves can be dangerous if you get in their way, but they'll leave you alone if you're careful. They are good at hiding their natures from the human population, but I'm not human. I know them when I meet them, and they know me too. Mercy Thompson's sexy next-door neighbour is a werewolf. She's tinkering with a VW bus at her mechanic shop that happens to belong to a vampire, and then Mercy Thompson is not exactly normal herself, and her connection to the world of things that go bump in the night is about to get her into a whole world of trouble. I can't actually remember how many books are in this series now, because there is a lot, and then there is other Patricia Briggs series, or at least one series off this. She is a coyote shifter. You just get to learn more about her past and who she is as it goes on. Especially this book, you actually learn quite a lot about her past. I think it's just a really good clean romance. I don't like clean, but non-smutty romance. I haven't really heard anyone talk about Patricia Briggs on Bookstagram, BookTok, BookTube, and I think that's a shame. It came out in the early 2000s, which I think there's a lot of books that came out in the early 2000s which people have kind of missed, or the hypes happened and we haven't brought them back yet. And this is definitely one of those books I would like to bring back, because it has everything. It has werewolves, it has vampires, it has the fae, it has golems at one point. It just has a bit of everything, and that is a really bad description of it, but I would suggest you pick it up. Okay, so the next book is Heart of Obsidian by Nalini Singh. This is part of the Changeling series. I think it's like about book 6. Oh no, I think there's more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. It's about the 12th book in the series, and it is honestly my favourite book because of the characters in it. The Changeling series is basically, it's another paranormal romance series. which each book is based around different characters with an overarching storyline, where you've got the Psy, who they have gifts, they have almost a hive mind, and they're kind of psychic, hence Psy, but they're very science-based. And then you've got the changelings, who are shapeshifters, who are very down-to-earth. And description: a dangerous, volatile rebel, hand-stained with red blood, a woman whose very existence has been erased, a love story so dark it may shatter the world itself, a deadly price that must be paid, the day of reckoning is here. So the whole part of the Psy Changeling series, without giving too many spoilers, because as I said, this is book 12, is that the Psy rule the world, because through their gifts they are better at business and pushing their agendas and goals better than humans and better than changelings, because they think they're better than them. And it's a system that is corrupt and it needs taking down and changing. And this is where this series is set. I just really love a power indifference in a dynamic, which is all I can explain it with this series. This is actually a 2 Psy relationship compared to most of the others, but it is heavily romantic. It is just romance, but it's well written and I enjoy it. This is probably more of the takeaway than a Michelin star, but I don't think that's a bad thing. Next book is Six of Crows by Leigh Bardugo. Judging from the amount of tabs I have in this book, you can probably see how much I love this. This was actually the first Grisha novel I ever read. I didn't read Shadow and Bone until after I'd read this, which was probably a mistake, but at the same time I don't think I would have read the Shadow and Bone series without reading Six of Crows. I just love a heist novel, and I love all of these characters so much, and I am still sorely disappointed that the Netflix show got cancelled and that we don't get to see the Ice Court, which reminds me I should read the blurb. Criminal prodigy Casbrecker has been offered wealth beyond his wildest dreams, but to claim it he'll have to pull off a seemingly impossible heist, break into the notorious Ice Court, a military stronghold that has never been breached, retrieve a hostage who could unleash magical havoc on the world, survive long enough to collect his reward and spend it. Kaz needs a crew desperate enough to take on this suicide mission and dangerous enough to get the job done, and he knows exactly who. 6 of the deadliest outcasts the city has to offer. Together they just might be unstoppable, if they don't kill each other first. I entirely recommend you read this, and if you haven't already, or you don't know what this book is, have you been living under a rock? This is one of those books where if you didn't enjoy Shadow and Bone, I would still recommend you reading this. And if you don't think you're going to enjoy Shadow and Bone, still read it, because honestly, you can read and appreciate this book without reading Shadow and Bone. Yeah, it's a world, the world building is brilliant. Everything is built on Shadow and Bone, but you don't need to understand it. I mean, you won't get little things like one of Inez's knives is Sancta Elena, which is in Shadow and Bone, but honestly, you don't need to know. It's a passing reference, and unfortunately there's no Milo in this. Our last book is A Marvellous Light by Freya Marske. Oh, there we go. This is a well-hunted Illumicrate copy of this book, which I have got all of this trilogy like this. You do not want to know how long I hunted for a copy. A pretty beautiful plastic covered copy of this, because it was far too long. But now I have it, and I am happy, and my book collector in me is happy. Anyway, a hidden world, a magical conspiracy, a thrilling romance. Young Baronet Robin Blythe was already in a spot of bother. He's struggling to be a decent older brother and a responsible employer, and to rescue the estate ravaged by his late parents' excesses. Then an An administrative mistake appoints him parliamentary liaison to a secret society, and he discovers magic lies beneath the reality he's always known. Soon Robin must contend with magic's dangers as well as its beauty, for as he tries to find his missing predecessor, he attracts a deadly curse. To navigate these hazards, he'll need the help of Edwin Corsi, his prickly magical society counterpart, but his aloof associate clearly wishes Robin were anyone and anywhere else. Drawn together by unexpected perils, Robin and Edwin will discover a mystery as old as the power that binds the land, a plot that threatens every magician in the British Isles, and a secret that some have already died to keep. It is a fantasy book set in Edwardian England. What more could you want? If you want magic mazes, it has that, which I love. A good magic maze. It's queer, if that wasn't clear enough by that description. I love it. I love historical things, but add magic to them, and it is my absolute favourite. You just more, please. It has magic mazes. I love the world building in this. It is gorgeous, and I feel like I might need to reread this soon because I still haven't read the other two in the series. Shh. But yeah, I would entirely recommend it, especially if you love like the Edwardian period, or you love magic and hidden societies. What more can I say? Okay, so our next two books I don't have physical copies of because I've only read them as ebooks. The first one is Taji from Beyond the Rings by R. Cooper. This is a sci-fi, and Taji is a translator and historian who has been sent to a planet where he was on a sort of mining colony to this planet, which is Ash or something, I can't remember, but he's been sent down to the main planet because his predecessor died, and he meets the captain of the guard who is from this planet, but he's part of the coalition that is trying to create a trade deal with this planet. And there is political intrigue, there is misunderstanding, there is a disabled human. He lost his leg on his birth planet. This is also gay and queer. I just love a good sci-fi, especially with world building that is spot on. It's a standalone novel that I honestly wish there was more to, because the ending you could quite easily carry on with the group. Not necessarily on the original characters, but there is much like Six of Crows, there is a ragtag group of individuals who are interesting. And it's just a really good book to enjoy. The last book is The High King's Golden Tongue by Megan Derr, which is a queer normative fantasy where you have kings and high kings and princes, and you have Alan, who is a court bird, for lack of a better phrase. I think that's actually what they call him, who has basically been training to marry Saren, who is the High King, and Alan is what's known as a silver tongue, which is someone who can speak multiple languages. He can speak 12, I think. Saren wasn't told that he should be expecting a husband, so he is not the best person. And shenanigans happen, which include warring nations and infiltrating a foreign country and getting captured. It's a series that I think there's 6 books, maybe 7 in the series, which focus on a different couple each time, but it is a queer normative fantasy series where you have trans characters, you have queer characters, you have straight characters. There is a bit of everything for everyone. It isn't magical, like it's fantasy, but there's no magic. I really enjoy it. I listen to that normally as an audiobook, and I think I've got all of the series now as audiobooks. It's just a really good fantasy, like is it high fantasy when there isn't any magic? But the world building is fantastic with different nations and everything. It's just really enjoyable. So last, after my top 10, is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. This is, well, it has a TV show now, which is actually a really good adaptation of the book. So if you have read the book, haven't read the book, I would recommend watching that. The blurb on this is: a world of witches, demons and vampires, a manuscript which holds the secrets of their past and the keys to their future. Diana and Matthew, the forbidden love at the heart of it. That's actually kind of a bad description blurb, but anyway. Diana Bishop is a witch who rejects her powers. She's studying in Oxford and she pulls out an Ashmole manuscript, and this is the manuscript which holds the secrets of their past, and Matthew feels when it has been pulled from the archives. It's a manuscript that has been thought lost because even when requested nobody could find it, and yet when Diana requests it, she is able to just request it like any other manuscript from the Bodleian, and that's weird. I really like this book and this series because there's time travel, there's magic, there's a world that is basically ours with a hidden world. So a bit like A Marvellous Light. I really enjoy paranormal, and paranormal romance at that. It's just a really good book, and I don't think you need to really love magic to read this. I think it is just a really good book to take on holiday and just enjoy. And with that, I am done. I hope you enjoyed a little foray into my top 10 plus a couple extra favourite books of all time. There you go. I think we have counted through all 10 plus a couple of extras of my favourite books. I hope it was interesting. If it's not too hard to ask, what is your favourite book or books? Do you have a favourite sort of genre? I think it's quite obvious from mine that fantasy and magic is my favourite genre. I do actually enjoy sci-fi, but I think I'm really picky. But yeah, I love magic. I do love contemporary stuff still. I did The Foxhole Court, has no magic in it, but I do prefer my books with a little bit of magic and a little bit of fantasy. Preferably queer, but I will take anything. I hope you enjoyed it. So until next time, bye!